chair is a little too close to the wall. Hey everybody, I'm Ashley Brooke. I'm on a Zoom, a virtual appointment with a psychiatrist. So I've faced some issues with medication. Hi. Good morning. Hi.
How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
Okay. Well, I'm a mental health nurse practitioner intern. I'll be doing your intake today, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Have you ever been seen for mental health before?
I had a psychiatrist before I moved to San Diego.
Okay.
And I've been seeing him for years now, and I've been taking a particular medication for, since I was 7, I started taking this medication for ADHD, and I'm also on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, and I tried to get off this medication, cold turkey, is that the right term? Yeah. I tried to get off this medication, cold turkey, 2018. And I had 4 back-to-back seizures, and I was hospitalized, and the doctors, they did a bunch of tests on me, and they had also referred me for aftercare to a neurologist. And from the hospitalization and from them finding out that I had just got off my medication cold turkey, I think it was like a day prior to the seizures. And they felt that it may have been associated with the fact that I have a neurological difference, like in my brain, autism, and I have a lot of issues with like sensory stimulation overload. Like I have sound issues, issues with sounds, like repetitive sounds. It makes me really like makes my body move around a lot, and it causes, now we've learned from me having the 4 back-to-back seizures, because they said when the ambulance showed up, I went into another seizure. And then I guess from whatever was happening throughout, I guess arriving to the hospital and all that, I had more seizures. And it's been noted that it's associated with my overstimulation of sound. And because I've been taking that medication for such a long time, I've been sort of like codependent on this medication to be able to handle my environment. Um, uh, uh, you know, in regards to sensory stimulation. So I have been, since that hospitalization, I have been gradually lowering my medication dosage. And right now, so I came to Kiva, and for the record, I'm not at Kiva for a substance abuse issue. My situation here is much different. That can be confirmed with Alicia, my case manager. Um, I um, I haven't drank alcohol in 4 years, just for the record. I actually came here because there was a discrimination issue against me and my 2 kids, because they're also autistic, and it was more of a safety flee. A roommate put their hands on us, and we had to leave for safety. I had nowhere to go, and so I put myself in this program for shelter, pretty much, and assistance and support. And they're helping me get housing right now. So you can confirm that with my case manager. I So I have I need this medication, because when I got down here, I didn't bring my medication, and I was scared not to do that, but I knew that it was a program. But once the director found out my story, and I had 2 mild seizures while at Kiva, so um this medication, I need to be on it. The social workers want me on it too, because of the incident that happened when I had the 4 back-to-back ones and my son ran down the street by himself. He was scared, and they put him in a roommate happened to be coming home, put him in the car and called the ambulance. They had found me on the porch with vomit covering my eyes, and I was turning blue. They said I was already, like, suffocating. So because of this, I need to be on that med, but I also want to be linked up with a psychiatrist because I would also, once I leave Kiva and I don't have to deal with so many women around me, like with the sound stimulation, I feel that I can focus on maybe lowering it also. Like once I leave on the 20th, and so I would like to make a plan, to can you hear me?
Actually, I just need. I'm gonna stop you right there, okay? I need to ask you some questions, okay? So let me ask you questions, and then we can go from there. All right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any allergies?
To medications? No.
Okay. Besides having autism and seizures, do you have any other?
ADHD.
Yes, I know for mental health, but anything else? Like high blood pressure, diabetes, anything like that?
No.
Have you had any surgeries before?
I've had C-sections when I had my children.
Okay. And when were those?
I had my son in 2014, and I had my daughter in 2022.
Are you currently taking other medications besides the Adderall?
No, I'm not. I've tried to see a neurologist and get on seizure medication, but the Department of Children and Family Services says I can't take a medication that makes me drowsy. So we've tried all the ones that don't make you drowsy, and they're ineffective.
Okay. Are you experiencing any shortness of breath, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain right now?
When I'm not taking it, yeah, I haven't been on my medication for I think like a week now, maybe a little over. And I'm experiencing when I'm not on it. I'm experiencing like I'm having issues like I feel how'd you say like my heart's gonna jump out my chest. I'm feeling very overly stimulated, especially when big crowds. And when I'm in a room with a bunch of like people, like a bunch of the girls, like when I'm doing a class here, even if the girls are like whispering in the back of the room, it sounds like the voice of the instructor, and all the whispering becomes almost like the same volume, and it feels like it's coming out like of a tunnel, and I feel like the feeling that you would feel if you're like being put underwater. Like I feel like a panic, like I can't breathe. Yeah, and I'm also experiencing very badly, and this happens every time I get off my medication, which is why I really want to work on trying to reduce it because I don't want to live like this like forever. So I'm experiencing a lot of pain in my neck, going up my neck and in my shoulders and in my head, and I keep having these mild seizures, like something. It feels like something's I can't explain it, but it feels like a sprain feeling, but like a popping almost sensation in my brain. It feels like I've always described it like my brain's popping. It feels like something is like and then my body goes kind of paralyzed. It's the only way to make the pain stop is like I have to stay very still until it passes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna keep going with some other questions. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Montebello, California.
Okay.
And my family moved around a lot. So like, but like all over California, and then I left home. And then I left home when I was 12, and I grew up in a dysfunctional home, very abusive and discriminatory. So I left very young, and I found a different family that ended up taking me in. A Thai and Japanese family took me in, and I stood with them, and then I ended up winding up in Calabasas, California. And I've been on my own since I was 12 though, pretty much, except for the support of that family for until I was 17.
Okay. Did they ever adopt you?
No, not legally, no. No, but they did talk to my mother. My mother was wheelchair bound. She had a lot of health problems, and so when my mom found out, she couldn't really protect me that much. So when I had my when the family asked, we wanted to talk to your parents. We don't where you came from. I let them talk to my mother, and I guess my mother told them it was okay to hold me. So I guess they probably didn't feel that it was appropriate to try to take the custody of me because they were more trying to be a support to my mom because my mom was handicapped.
Okay. Do you have any contact with your mom anymore?
My mom died in 2020 from
Sorry to hear
COVID.
that.
Yeah, I tried to talk to my dad last night. He's in a nursing home, but I was never close to him. He used to be a minister, but then he became an addict um, when his siblings had passed away because they were murdered, and my dad stopped preaching, and he kind of like backslid, and he was never the same since. And he's an old man now, and I tried to talk to him last night. I tried to call him because I have my regional center appointment tomorrow, and he didn't really want to be on the phone with me. He said he'd call me back, but he didn't. And I think that this is a common thing that happens to autistic people is the communication. There's communication barriers, and they kind of like shun some families. If they're not supportive ones, they usually don't understand, and they kind of shun us. So I don't really have any support from family.
Okay. Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have two brothers, and I have three sisters. Um, One of my sisters I barely found out. I met her in 2018. And my other two sisters, one of them's a half sister. She's older. She was the oldest, and then I have my sister Natalie, and then I have my brother Manuel, and my brother Sean. My brother Sean's in prison for life though for attempted murder. And I don't talk to any of my family. They were very abusive to me growing up, and I left for safety, survival reasons. So I don't think it's healthy for me to socialize too closely with them, especially now that I have two autistic kids, and they used to be very mean to me because of my autism. So I just stay away to protect my kids.
Okay. All right. So, who would you consider your support system?
Um, I um I didn't have any. This is why I lied and got into this program. Well, somebody told me to lie. I was prompt to lie to come into this program because I had no support at all. It was that bad. And because of my son's autism, he has certain behaviors that is more harder for people to understand, and it would cause a lot of discrimination and they were very aggressive and mean to my son. So it was caused conflict a lot. So I didn't have any, which is why I came to this program, hoping to get the support. And this program did offer me support, even realizing that I didn't currently meet the criteria. They still saw how that there's no support for people in my with my exact circumstances. And I just thank God that they were here to help us. But my support today is um the family children's services. They've actually been very helpful and understanding. The department in San Diego has been very nice and not discriminatory to me. So that is a nice change. I usually deal with a lot of discrimination because they think otherwise sometimes in LA. And so the Department of Children and Family Services have put in and got me an immediate voucher that's going to be approved this month for Section 8, and they have linked me up with advocacies to support me and regional center. And I have met other parents with autistic kids, and I've reached out to them, and I made a YouTube channel where I share my autism with other parents that have autistic kids to help them better understand. And I also practice different new approaches for my children's autism, like to help them with their challenges. And that's kind of like, and then I have God. I'm a big Christian, so that right now currently is my support. And I hope to build a bigger support and have more get more connected with the autism community out here in San Diego, and I'm working on that right now.
Okay. What's your highest level of education?
I was attending a university online, and I maintain a 4.0 consistently, so I would say some college. I was working on my bachelor's in psychology, and but I had seizures and I had to drop out because the Department of Children and Family Services they said that I didn't have enough family support, and that I was staying up too late to be studying, and my son has a sleeping disorder, and they feel that it was just too much on me, so they were concerned about me having more seizures and my son not having anybody there if I had one, and him being left alone. The way they worded it is that we're afraid that no one's gonna find your son until they find him laying with your dead corpse. I thought that was very graphic, but I understand their concern, so I dropped out of school. I would like to go back eventually, though. I was doing very well.
Do you have a high school diploma or
Yes,
GED?
I have a
High
high.
school.
Yes, I have a high school diploma. I left home when I was 12, but I actually put myself in homeschooling, um, and I finished school like that.
Okay. Have you worked at all in your past?
Yeah, that's one thing I've done really well with is because I don't have to like it's kind of like encouraged to not socialize and goof off and just do your job. So that is one area where I did really well in until I had children. It was it's become, I believe that my autism as I get older has before I was able to hide mask better, and I was able to, because I didn't have the the stress and stimulation of caring for another life, and crying, and I have issues with sound stimulation. So I feel that, and then my kids require so much therapy. This is why I haven't worked. And I'm usually on call with the school for my son. I just have a really big, I have a full plate of responsibility. And my kids' autism is that they have many, especially my son has many barriers and challenges that he needs, that he requires me, and being that I'm the only parent and only family support for them. They don't have any other outside family either. It's just me. I'm unable to work at this time until I can really get established, like in the community, and get the right support system set up here.
What did you do for work in the past?
When I was younger, I started learning to be more social because of the family that took me in had a restaurant, and they started having me take drink orders at first. And then out of like my appreciation and wanting to stay there, because I wanted to stay with that family, I kept pushing myself outside of my comfort zone and trying, and eventually I started taking orders. And then I would help out any way I can, like cleaning up and stuff like that. And then as I got a little older and got more confidence, um, I um, I got jobs working, like I usually, for some reason, every like retail place or like service company I work for some reason they always made me like the man, I always made general manager or like assistant manager within the first couple of months. And I think it was because I so badly didn't want to socialize or talk to anybody that I just did my job so hard so I can pretend like I'm busy, you know? And I think that's why that is. It's kind of funny how that worked out. But yeah, I'm not too good with, I'm good with problem solving, and I'm good with like, with like graphs and stuff like that. And I'm good on that level, but just, and I'm 38 now. I've worked a lot on my socializing and my ability to deal with my sensory overloads, but it's difficult. It is a challenge every day for me, but I'm doing pretty well, and I feel it would be nice to get back in the work field, but I need to make sure that my children are okay first, and that's what I'm trying to do here in San Diego is get the stability and get the support from the community and get the services that are offered to where I can have respite workers and people to come in and help me with my children to get them on track so that I could hopefully one day get back in the community and contribute to society.
Gotcha. So
Huh?
when's the last time you worked? Like what year?
Ooh, the last time I worked was before when I was my son. I was like a shadow. You know what they are? I used to be a school teacher too, like a preschool teacher for a moment before I had my son, and then later on I did I worked for a agency called A Helping Hand, and they would send me with autistic kids, whether like as a support, going to like events with the family to be that extra support for the child because the parents were busy. Um, and I also would go to like kindergarten classes, and I would kind of shadow the child. And if they were having sensory overloads and stuff like that, I was told to just pull them aside and help them deal with their stimulation overloads, and that the therapist had recommended.
Okay. Alrighty.
That was the last job I had to stop working though because I had a child that was on the spectrum that was kicking and biting, and I was pregnant, so I was told to stop working, and that was the last time I worked. So that was 2018.
Okay. All right. Do you talk to the father of your children at all?
Do I talk to them? No, I don't. That my son's father was very abusive. He
Okay.
yeah he was there was always I don't date for this reason. My autism, the way I communicate and the way I perceive things, I'm very analytical. I'm very, like, most people would say, oh, you're blunt or maybe you're rude. But when it comes to like living with a person like that, people that don't understand my way of communicating, it can cause a lot of conflict sometimes and misunderstandings. So um he he uh he was doing like illegal like things. He was I found out that he wasn't working for his uncle's construction company like he was telling me. He was actually growing illegal marijuana in the valley, and in San Fernando Valley. And when I confronted him, he got upset, and I said, I don't want you lying to my son when he's born. And he didn't understand that keeping honesty in the house, in your home, is important, for my son's emotional development. And I believe that I don't like lies. It makes me uncomfortable and it doesn't feel good. So if I have a feeling like that, when I'm supposed to be feeling like this is family, I just thought I didn't agree with it. And it caused arguing, and it caused it caused fighting, and I left when my son was 5 months old because he got physically abusive.
Okay. What about your daughter's father?
He had mental illness. I didn't know how severe his mental illness was, but he he was on his medication, and he got off of his psych meds. He's diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar, and what's it? So he had pretty much what's it called? Schizoactive. So bipolar, schizophrenia, and episodes of psychosis, like behaviors of psychosis. And I didn't know how bad it was until he got off of his meds, and he said he wanted to be more coherent for Izzy, and he was gonna get off and just try to. It didn't go well. Unfortunately, it was really sad because he was really a great guy, and very nice to my son. He was like kind of stepped in for my son, when his father wasn't there. So it was devastating to see how quickly this man turned into a completely different person. And for that reason, I had to separate from him. I tried to stay with him for a second. I put him in the hospital. He got back on his psych meds and he came back out. I met with a social worker. I discussed my concerns, and then from there, the social worker and myself thought, okay, well, if he can be on his medication, then maybe it was just that issue that he couldn't, that it was a mistake for him to get off, and that if he gets back on, that he'll go back to the way it was. And unfortunately, that was not the case. As soon as I realized that that was not the case, we had conversations, and I told him, I talked about it. I'm very concerned because I understand your diagnosis. My sister has that same diagnosis, and she's been very kind, and then goes from that to like having psychosis and becoming extremely abusive and aggressive physically. So I was concerned about that. So he told me if he exhibited any behaviors that were concerning, to leave him, and that he would understand why. So one
No
day,
contact.
huh?
No contact with him.
I had spoken to him maybe a couple of months ago, but he doesn't see my daughter and he's not allowed to, and he understands that.
Okay. Are you currently in a relationship at all?
No, and I don't intend to be in one. I have a lot on my plate, and my differences. I just don't think I don't want to be with anybody because it's just very confusing and there's a lot of misunderstandings, and I don't need that right now.
Have you ever been married in your past before?
No, I have not. I
Okay.
was engaged. I was engaged to Ozzy's dad, but I didn't go through with it because I noticed the behavior getting worse with the abuse.
Gotcha. Okay. With your family, I know you said your dad had some substance abuse issues, and you had a sister that was schizophrenic. Any other mental health issues in your family? Like, does anybody have bipolar?
Yes,
Anybody?
my sister is schizophrenic and bipolar. She was very abusive to me growing up. I don't,
Okay. And
but there was a lot of trauma. There was a lot of abuse in the house, so I believe it made her this way. I've
okay.
talked to my sister not that long ago, and she's sober now, and I just talked to her, and she said because she saw my YouTube channel, and she said she said I just want you to know that it wasn't like that. We grew up very abused, she told me, and I think she felt bad that she's now realizing that autism is a thing, a real thing, and maybe they didn't understand it as much back then, and I think she felt bad today now that she's sober.
Gotcha. Anybody try to commit suicide in your family or any attempts?
There's a lot of violence, but no, I don't think suicide. My mother suffered from severe depression, and she had agoraphobia. So she wouldn't leave her room. They said even when she was younger, even before when she was able to walk, she didn't like being around people.
Okay.
Like I only like close family, and she was very social that way, but not when it came to like a lot of people. She was also claustrophobic.
Okay. Do you sleep at all?
Me, when I was younger, I had issues sleeping, but to today, I feel like I'm so exhausted, and my children have severe sleeping disorders that I'm sleeping maybe about 2 or 3, especially if I don't have my medication, I'm sleeping about 2 or 3 hours a night because my kids wake up and they don't go to bed till late, and even though I give them melatonin, they're still waking up, and I find it very overwhelming once I wake up that I end up staying up instead of falling asleep.
Okay. So you're only getting 2 to 3 hours a night and
Well,
having a
no,
hard.
yeah, I would say like now since I've been working with my kids since I've been at Kiva, I feel like I want to correct it. I feel like maybe like now it's like more like 3 to 4 hours a night. It's getting better. My kids
Okay.
sleep because my kids sleep is getting better.
Are you having a hard time falling asleep or staying asleep or both?
Well, I have a hard time, well, kind of both in a way, but my issue is more that my kids have these challenges too. And I feel like if they went to sleep at a normal time, I would be able to. So I don't know if you want to include that as an issue for me, or if it's just the circumstances of, the care that is required for my children.
Okay. How would you say your energy is daily? Are you tired all the time? Do you feel like you have good energy?
It's so strange because I feel like exhausted. I feel really exhausted. I'm so tired. But it seems almost like the more tired I get because I have so much to do, the more stimulated I get. It's hard to explain. Like I get like even when I'm tired, sometimes I can even get like delirious, like as in a sense of like joking a lot or being a little bit over the top, like playing with my kids and stuff. Like I noticed that I have like some childlike behaviors of being like over the top goofy, and it's like super late and it's not appropriate for a parent to be like that. So those are things that I'm working on.
Okay. How's your concentration? Do you feel like you're able to concentrate or no?
Mm, okay. I feel like my concentration is not good if I'm well. It's not. Let's see. So when I'm taking the medication, it's good. when I'm not taking the medication, I'm doing things like these are the things I'm doing. I'm leaving the faucet on. I keep forgetting that the faucet is running. I'm leaving the van door open at Kiva when I'm supposed to be closing it. I'm forgetting items. I'm dropping, like, say I drop my phone on the floor, and I will remember visually seeing it that I dropped it, but then before you know it, I'll be back up in the room, and I'll be like, oh my God, I never picked up the phone that I dropped on the floor, and I saw it when it fell outside, Like I'm forgetting things, like I guess that would be like kind of forgetful that I had just seen that, so I feel like maybe I'm a little hyper active, and it's causing me to have issues remembering, what needs to be done, in order. Does that make sense?
Oh, how's your appetite? Are you hungry at all? Are you eating 3 meals a day?
Uh, yeah. I hesitated because my kids require so much care and it's a lot of maintenance that I do eat throughout the day. Um, And yeah, I definitely do eat throughout the day. I usually just more like snack and bite, like and I'll eat off my daughter's plate because she doesn't eat that much. She's only 2. Because I feel like I'm really like I got so many things I gotta get done.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have any feelings of guilt or worthlessness?
No, not today. When I was younger, I dealt, and I feel like I've overcome those barriers. Um, when I didn't understand my autism, I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I didn't feel accepted, and I thought, I kept having to, hide myself and not be me. Which that was actually what led me to me being a drinker. Though I haven't drank in 4 years, I did used to drink, and the messed up part about it is that when I realized that, which is what made me stop, is that I was drinking because I didn't want to feel the way people were looking at me, and I didn't want to notice or care. So I kind of wanted to like tap out of that, acknowledging that around me. And so I was using like the way I was dealing with discrimination. I was drinking it, to not feel it or to numb my sensory overloads. I feel like my body was more not fidgety and I was less hyperactive when I was drinking. It was kind of like I guess you would call it what self-medicating. Um so yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Any self-harming, like cutting or
Oh, no, 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 thank God, no. I today, like for the record, I've worked through all those, when